Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back indeed. And we took that time to have a quick 10-minute lunch break and also give DarKFoRcE a moment to collect himself after that thrashing at the hands of ThorzAin.
Yeah, I mean, he came into the tournament being like, all right, I just want to play my games back-to-back, get it out of the way, really.
Yeah, he did,
and try and win as fast as possible. But then all of a sudden, after a 55-minute game on Talza and Malta, didn't work out so
it's
well.
Like, I need an adult. I need an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, DarKFoRcE is so unflappable as well. Like, seeing that absolute spirit-crushing.
And there was so many mistakes in Game 2, and ThorzAin just capitalized on every single one of them and won the game without doing anything, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the hold on his natural was as good as the hold could have ever possibly been with a supply depot wall-off against that kind of army. And yeah, 200 mistakes from DarKFoRcE after that, and that's just, it's insane to watch, really. A player of the caliber of DarKFoRcE who we've seen play and win so many. I mean, he beats Koreans all the time. He was the only European to beat anyone in the round of 16 in the NASL Season 1 finals. And bear in mind that he did really well in his groups as well.
Yeah, and now
DarKFoRcE is good.
Yeah, I mean, he's very good, but the thing is he hasn't got the best record against Protoss players. And now he's going up against NightEnD, and I think this is going to be an interesting game for sure. I mean, head-to-head, these guys, it's gone in favor of DarKFoRcE, actually. He has got a 2-0 lead on NightEnD in previous tournaments, but the way that we saw DarKFoRcE before, man, and the reason we also have NightEnD up his first game as well.
That helps, yeah.
He's probably top of the group right now. So yeah, this is not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, DarKFoRcE is fighting to stay in the tournament at this point. He really, really is, because he isn't out yet. But it's looking very likely at this point.
I mean, if he has to win this 2-0 and he still has to prey on other results. So.
Exactly. But it's not a meaningless game, as DarKFoRcE realizes as well. So, you know what? We're also going to kick the comeback bounty in. I know we technically said it was for games that basically are completely meaningless and there's no chance of advancing, but we're kicking it in here anyway for DarKFoRcE because we think that he's put on a great show. So, $50 comeback bounty available for DarKFoRcE if he wins this series.
Nice. All right,
you ready? Bad. I'm always ready. Let's make it happen.
Let's get ready to go then, as this is Antigua Shipyard. The vetoes, by the way, for both of these players, I know some people are really interested in that, to know what goes through these people's minds. NightEnD gets rid of Metalopolis. Against the player seems reasonable. DarKFoRcE gets rid of Terminus. Interesting decision. NightEnD then gets rid of Jewel Site, and then finally DarKFoRcE rid of SHOUTcraft Plateau. So GSL, Antigua Shipyard, the first map of this best of 3.
And who was the person that chose Antigua?
It was NightEnd's map choice.
That's interesting.
For Antigua Shipyard, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, folks. It's about time for us to kick this game off, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Antigua Shipyard. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the man who actually has 2 buttons on my keyboard here because I made a mistake and put him in twice in the player roster for the Robo Voice. It is the one and only
Fnatic MSI NightEnD.
He's in the Red Trunks playing Protoss to the south versus his opponent, who is fighting to stay in the tournament right now, having lost to Stefano and ThorzAin. Takes a map, certainly from Stefano, but ThorzAin may have just crushed his spirit entirely. Let's find out if DarKFoRcE is able to rally. It is, of course.
Alternate attacks, DarKFoRcE.
And he is in the Blue Trunks playing Zerg to the north.
And we have a Forge Fast Expand coming out from NightEnD here. This is a map that it is very much so viable, and the version that he's going to go with is the one very close to the ramp. So he's going to try and wall off right in the ramp here. And then it basically, I really like this kind of wall off. It's a little bit more risky. Obviously, it's more out in the open. But at the same time, when you go ahead and build a 12 Forge, you're pretty much as safe as can be. And it also gives you a lot of space in between that pylon and the Nexus to build stuff. Otherwise, you're very compact into your own natural and your base, which isn't even that big on this map. So I do like this build so far from NightEnD. Meanwhile, we do have a spawning pool first, as since the probe arrived so fast, cross-position only map, that it's going to be very hard to get down an early hatchery.
It's going to be tricky, no doubt about that. NightEnd's going to try and deny, and DarKFoRcE, of course, does not have the cash to make that one just yet. Pylon is down, and there's also the possibility of a cancellation there as well. DarKFoRcE didn't really want to build a hatchery just yet anyway because he didn't have the cash for it. But we'll see. We'll see if NightEnD actually decides to leave it there. That in itself, I feel, is always a bit of an edge for the Zerg player. It's like, hey, I forced a pylon, that's 100 minerals you just wasted.
Yeah, and then if he goes Nexus first, well, Nexus next, sorry, which he's going to do, the Lings have to kill the pylon before they come to you as well, so you get that extra time back. If you cancel it, they just come straight to you, and so on. So right now, he's going to have to go Cannon and then Gateway, because there are 6 Lings making. DarKFoRcE want to get rid of the pylon, and also want to try to run by. So the Cannon is placed in the center of the ramp, so it can actually move and attack, well, not move, but attack on both sides at equal distance.
The cannon could move as part of Legacy of the Void, so I've been told, moving cannons, that's the creepiest idea I can possibly think of.
Yeah, and it's not a 3-building wall-off, by the way, so he has to build the pylon there as well. And it will be able to wall-off now if he wants to, with a single structure, or he can bring it to the right a little bit and then wall in with the Zealot as well. So he has multiple options here for defensive stance here. But overall, very good build to start off with. Taking gas, the first gas, and we'll take a second one immediately. And then we'll have to see what he decides to do from here on out. Meanwhile, DarKFoRcE into gas now. He's got his expansion up. And against Forge Fast Expand, you probably want to be taking a fast third base, which on this map has that pocket expansion to the left of your base if you DarKFoRcE, to the right if you NightEnD. Very accessible. Yeah,
nice and easy, no problems there at all. Well, DarKFoRcE will, needless to say, have to try and expand shortly. He doesn't really want to sit there on 2 bases versus the 2 of NightEnD as well, but that's a bit risky, potentially. NightEnD wants to try and prevent that.
So what NightEnd's just done with that scouting probe is he's obviously seen there was no third base, but he also knows that gas has been taken indirectly, scouting once again, because if he hadn't have taken gas, the third base would have been down at that point he scouted at 4 minutes 30 to 5 minutes. Not seeing that, he now knows that gas has been taken, and now the expansion will come up after that, and he's going to try and get in again. So very smart player there from NightEnD, and he is going to be able to get that information, and he knows that he's playing against not a tech build, but a fast expand build. Oh, very smart from DarKFoRcE, actually. Look at that.
Yeah, he keeps that hidden. That's very, very nice.
Yeah, it's very good, actually.
Yeah, he'll be able to kill that probe, and hopefully that scout shouldn't end up happening. Even if NightEnD doubles back here, yeah, he's too far away now to scout that. So very nicely done. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it an awful lot. So that third remains hidden there from NightEnD. He can make an assumption, perhaps, but what he may assume is that the third came down a lot later than it really did.
Yeah, and he's had to chrono boost out a second Zealot now as well, because he wants to. He's probably going to use a single Zealot to go scout again, so, because he doesn't know what's going on. Is it a 2-base tech? Is it 2-base, kind of early game aggression? Is it not? And so he needs to start to kind of find out what is going on. And unless you have hallucination, which he's of course not going to have after going Force Fast Expand, there are no options to scout aside from walking your Zealots across the map.
Yep, having a little bit of a stroll, which is what's happening right now. A couple of Zealots now moving in. Always the possibility of getting a nasty surround there, but you'd have to spend a lot of links to kill it. But
very
yes,
early
the Twilight Council.
Very early coming on. So what he could be going for is a very strong 2-base Blink Stalker +2 attack, because the Twilight Council's that early on. He's been focusing chrono boosting the +1 already. So +2 can actually start very shortly from here on out. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing here. It may not be like 7, 8 gateways or so on. He may take a third in it, but his upgrades are going to be super fast.
Very much so. And DarKFoRcE was able, in the meantime, to get a good Ling surround right there before NightEnD was able to respond to it. 4 gateways being added on right there. DarKFoRcE is going to scout all of those gateways, but he doesn't know about the Twilight Council just yet.
Yeah, and it will research Blink very shortly here. And we also have a robotics facility. So he's basically opened up all options available to him. He can swing down Colossus. He can go Templar Archives if Spire comes. So it's a very open build so far from what we see from NightEnD. He's also up to 5 gateways, so he can quite easily take a third base soon once he starts building units. But I do like this build a lot here from NightEnD for sure.
Yeah, it's nice and safe, which is what we really have come to expect from NightEnD. He tends to play safe at this stage, and then we'll see what he decides to break out. And he's quite varied in terms of his play. He'll deploy pretty much anything that he feels is necessary. He's very flexible in that regard. Yeah,
and there's that +2 starting now. So he can throw down a couple of extra gateways and go, or he can start to build up an army and then take a third base fast. It depends on, I guess, what he scouts with this observer. So we'll see very, very shortly. But his supply is low just because he's only got a Stalker and a Sentry. He's got no army whatsoever. Meanwhile, there's already an army in the middle of the map here from DarKFoRcE who started building units. But he will race up to 70 drones now, as he has a comfortable amount in the middle to hold any small little pushes.
Yeah, that's very true. NightEnD now just pushing out just a little bit, wants to see what he can see. Maybe there's an Overlord there, maybe there's a Ling you can kill one way or the other. And he picks the Ling off in the process. Third is now nice and saturated here for DarKFoRcE, and I gotta say, NightEnD is not really the kind of guy to go for the early game harassment, honestly. He's not that kind of player. So it's given DarKFoRcE a lot of time to build up a pretty strong economy. He's on 65 drones and 3 bases, so that's not too shabby at all. The Observer's now going to move in and see what it can find, and tech-wise, DarKFoRcE is not exactly sitting on a huge amount.
No, just Roach Ling at the moment. He has +1 attack, about to finish for the Roaches, and he at the moment has no idea what's going on because he cannot see a third base. He's scanning for a third base of NightEnD, which should be coming down about now, but it's not. So he's a little bit confused with what's going on right now. He's scouting everywhere, even to the top right base. Meanwhile, NightEnD sees, okay, Roach Ling, and he's even started to build Immortals. So he's going to be going for Sentry to block the Lings, and then Immortals and Zealots and so on to kill everything else. And I'm not sure, he should be taking the third base while doing this very shortly here on out. But yeah, it's a very strong composition that NightEnd's building right now.
Yes, it is, and it's difficult to deal with one way or the other. And DarKFoRcE, of course, has absolutely superb control, but so does NightEnD.
And he's building a lot of units right now, DarKFoRcE, man. Now he knows that the third base is going to be taken. I expect him to start killing those rocks and putting a bit of pressure on now.
Yeah, absolutely. He also needs units because he's thinking, well, that third base is really, really late, so where did your money go? Well, I don't know how large your army is. I've got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and Lings are going to go in, and nice blink, catches a few, but the Lings are a lot, but the Observer sees how many Lings there are, so NightEnd's very comfortable in everything right now, and he's going to start to wall off in his third base. So even if the destructible debris goes down, he's going to have a gateway wall in with probably cannons behind it as well. And these Lings are trying to see if he's actually expanding, because I don't even think DarKFoRcE actually... No, he doesn't. He doesn't even know the Nexus is planted, so he's still being very cautious.
Yeah, poking and prodding, both of these guys a little bit unsure and a little bit leery. I can't really blame DarKFoRcE for doing that because, of course, you know, he loses. I think if he loses one map in this, there's basically no chance of him going through in this tournament. He's got to win this 2-0, and even then, of course, it will be affected by other results. So DarKFoRcE doesn't want to screw it up because once one map is done, he is toast. He is out of this tournament.
And we have seen, well, DarKFoRcE has seen that there was Blink Stalkers and also Immortals, so he decided to go down Infestors. And naturally, NightEnD expecting that response, and he's going to confirm it shortly as well, has started to get the Robotics Bay and will start to tech up to Colossus as well. And right now, NightEnD doesn't need to do anything. He's on 3 bases versus 3 bases. That's a great scenario for Protoss. You know, the basic Zerg rule, always be 1 base ahead of your opponent, which he's not right now. So NightEnD doesn't need to do anything at all. And it's all going to come down to DarKFoRcE, who has to attack into NightEnD, which is happening right now.
He's got a lot of Lings, 122.
Scary, and
it's a +1 timing attack, as you can see there. The melee has got about to finish, and then he's going to go for it. He's been maxed out. I mean, he has got a massive supply lead over his opponent here, and it comes down to how good this engagement is going to be.
Fields?
There are the force fields. Are they perfect?
No.
No, they are not. They got holes. They got a lot of holes, and DarKFoRcE is going to exploit them as much as possible. Goes for the surround with those Lings. More force fields planted to try and prevent more damage. There's still 4 Immortals at the back, dealing massive damage to those Roaches, but he crashes through. He breaks it. The Zealot wall is gone, and those Roaches are now going to have a very fun time indeed.
Yeah, those force fields are so bad. They were on top of each other. There was holes, and having force fielded well, he probably would have done a lot better there, of course.
Absolutely.
But that was not the case there, and DarKFoRcE takes a humongous lead in the game. Look at how many Lings are strolling down, and even though this Colossus out, it doesn't have Thermal Lance yet, and a Spire has been placed down. We may be seeing a very strong Muta switch, or even just Corruptors, to kill the Colossus and let the rest of the ground units do the work. But right now, DarKFoRcE in great position. Yeah,
it's looking really, really good indeed. Oh, that was perhaps not the right time to warp in, as he's covered in Lings from all sides. The Lings smash their way into the mineral line, and Roaches trying to bust their way through as well. NightEnD regaining composure. The Ling run by has absolutely annihilated that mineral line, as you can see. But
he's targeting the Nexus. There's
will he
3
be able to
cannons
kill it?
Though, so
he can't kill it in time. Not a chance. Not with the Colossus there. And NightEnD holds that much, much better this time around. Good Blink Stalker control. Some damage taken. I mean, DarKFoRcE didn't throw away a lot there. He threw away Lings and some Roaches. He doesn't really care.
And he killed quite a few probes, I imagine. 13 probes did go down, but still, NightEnD stands. So I expect to see Corruptors now as he's still maintaining building Infestors and Roaches, so he's spending his gas into them. So he doesn't, even if he tried to go Mutas right now, he builds 6. It's like, what? You know, it's not going to do anything. You need to build up a lot more. So Corruptors are going to be the more viable option to try and snipe these Colossus fast enough so that the rest of the army can do the damage. But NightEnd's upgrades, man, they're at 2-2. He's adding Templar Archives as well.
DarKFoRcE is about to be remaxed, which is scary in and of itself as well. Yeah, NightEnD looking to deny the 4th here.
I don't know if that's a wise choice, man. But not with Fungal Growth out on the map.
Yeah, yeah, he's on creep as
risky.
well. Well, NightEnd's now, I think, realized that this is a terrible idea, and DarKFoRcE does not want him to leave. He really does not. He wants him to stay for another round, but NightEnd has no intention of doing so. That might be a free sentry kill at the end there. Now moving into a defensive position. Force Field goes down and does basically nothing, but it was going to die anyway, so you might as well.
Yeah, and the Colossus count is getting quite high, actually. It's at 3, and he stopped at 3. So let's have a look at the Corruptor count. It's currently at 6. It's not a lot. 3 more in production, and nicely done. The Hive does go down, so we are going to be seeing Broodlords coming out very, shortly here.
Yep.
But Storm is on the way, and Templars, so I expect to see NightEnD slowly crawl towards the middle to take a 4th base soon. But right now, the focus is on this fight.
And let's see how good it is. The force fields are better this time around, and they've resulted in a lot of Roaches getting caught in a death trap. NightEnD exploits that to the fullest potential imaginable and annihilates it. DarKFoRcE has been cut down the center, but really, DarKFoRcE doesn't care. He's just built another 20 Roaches.
Yeah, and he's going to keep piling the pressure on right now. And NightEnD has to take a 4th base because his main base is almost mined out. He has to do that right now. Meanwhile, DarKFoRcE is trying to prevent him from doing that. If NightEnD stays on 3 bases, great, let's go to Hive, let's get Broodlords, because he's not going to be able to fight them correctly. And right now, this is very good play from DarKFoRcE, just keeping his opponent away. And NightEnD trying to get that 4th base up, but DarKFoRcE is not going to allow that, man. He says no.
Yeah, if he can stop that, then that'll be ideal. The concern right here is that the ball of doom from NightEnD is getting very large indeed. He's pretty much maxed now, and those storms were damaging, to say the least. DarKFoRcE takes a pounding right there. The Immortals have a field day, and DarKFoRcE's army is taking a lot of punishment. A big blink to get those Corruptors out of the way as well. And that went really well for NightEnD, aside, of course, from losing his Colossus.
Oh no, DarKFoRcE. Oh no, because you've let NightEnD take a 4th. And he's not going to be able to deny it now because NightEnd's on the higher ground and everything. And this army composition is so strong against Roachling. So strong.
Very true. And yeah, NightEnd saying you are not having this position. Yeah. That is not happening. He even blinked a small force down there to clean that up. And DarKFoRcE had a chance. He did. He had a chance to really go ahead in this game. He was ahead for the longest time and is now being punished so hard.
His upgrades are so bad, though. They're just at 1-0 each, and NightEnd's at 2-2, and it has been for a very long time. So he's just had an upper advantage in every fight.
Yep, shields up, and down goes the DarKFoRcE, taking yet more punishment from that large force of Blinkstalkers, heavily upgraded. The 4th is gone, and NightEnd's back at 200.
Yeah, and now it's basically 4 mining bases for gas for NightEnD versus only 3, which is obviously the reverse of what it should be. So right now, NightEnD is in a great lead. He's at 200 supply, 2 upgrades. He has 3 storms available for the next fight as well, even feedbacks if he wants to, but not the best storm.
Not really. I think he can probably spare it at this point, but yeah, the storm wasn't exactly what I call ideal. Another blink goes in, he's herding them around there. Come by. The Roaches are going in the pen, and they ain't coming out again. Yeah, and a nice bit of a Ling run by, but you know, a little bit too little too late, to be honest. I feel so, yes. I mean, if he'd been able to do that earlier, but how the hell do you do that? Then just stay defensive until he was comfortable. This is a very defensive map, man. That's the reason why, because you can't do counters or flanks. No, you can't. You simply cannot. You'll run into a force regardless. And NightEnd's now going to push forward and try and end the game. The only hope that DarKFoRcE really has at this point is that he can execute a defense with Broodlords. And against that many Blinkstalkers, that's going to be tricky. It doesn't matter if every single unit dies here for NightEnd. His resource bank is at 1,500 minerals and gas. And he can just warp in more more Stalkers and beat these down. So, and obviously that he's not going to lose everything and not kill anything. So this is going to be a rough fight for DarKFoRcE, even with Broodlords. Storms, Blinks.
We'll see.
Yeah, and there, oh my, there's the blink, and there's no infestors. The drones are coming in as well, so this is the last stand of DarKFoRcE in this tournament. Losing this will basically mean that he can't win. That's it. He is done in this tournament. If he wins this series, he'll get the comeback bounty, but there's the GG, and after losing that one map, there really is no way he can continue in this tournament. It can't happen.
No, not with the caliber of players that we have in here, and it's getting too difficult to win this 2-1. He'd be at 1-2 overall with a bad map score. You know, it's not looking good for DarKFoRcE here, unfortunately.
Yeah, with ThoughtZone taking the 2-0 win right there, I feel it's very, very unlikely because DarKFoRcE has not been able to take a single 2-0 anything. So I feel that in that position, yes, he cannot advance. I'm sure the mathematicians on TL will tell me whether or not that's the case, but just off the top of my head right now, thinking about the statistics, I feel that there's no way you can continue. But that doesn't mean anything in SHOUTcraft. You can indeed win your final series, even if you can't continue, and you can win your comeback bounty, because we don't do meaningless games in this tournament. We're going to take a quick ad break, I think, and then when we come back, we're going to have the second map, which is going to be on GSL Daybreak.